Today, we're going to unpack a really powerful tool for understanding equity, but we're going to do it a little differently. Not with a bunch of dry charts and data, but through a very human story, one that I think a lot of us might just recognize.
All right, so let's dive right in and meet an educator who finds himself at a major crossroads, about to have his whole professional world turned upside down.
So this is Mr. James. He's a seasoned teacher, you know the type, genuinely cares about his students, really prides himself on doing a good job, and above all else, on being fair.
And for him, this is the golden rule. It's his North Star. In his mind, treating every single person the exact same way is the absolute definition of fairness.
But then things take a turn. Complaints start coming in from parents. And all of a sudden, this principle he holds so dear is being called into question. He's being accused of bias. And his reaction? Well, it's totally human. He digs in his heels, gets defensive, and just feels completely and utterly misunderstood. And you know, this clash, this gap between what he intended and the actual impact it had, it opens the door to a really crucial conversation. It starts to pull back the curtain on a misunderstanding a lot of us have about what it really means to be equitable. So he ends up in a meeting with the school psychologist, and she introduces him to a pretty challenging new idea. She gently suggests that his core belief in sameness might actually be the root of the whole problem.
It's such a simple sentence, isn't it? But for Mr. James, this is a total game changer. This is the one idea that starts to shift him away from being defensive and toward being just a little bit curious.
So how does he start to process this? Well, the psychologist doesn't just leave him hanging. She introduces a tool to help him navigate this really difficult moment and build a new kind of understanding.
She brings up something called the 6 stages framework. And she's really careful to explain, hey, this is not about pointing fingers or judgment. Think of it more like a map, a way to understand where you are on your own personal journey with all this stuff.
In this framework, it covers the whole spectrum of attitudes and behaviors. I mean, it goes all the way from a stage -6, which is, extremist territory, all the way up to a stage +6, a truly transformational and inclusive leader. And of course, everything in between.
So, the big question is, where does Mr. James actually fall on this map? And remember, the point isn't to slap a label on him as good or bad. It's all about figuring out his starting point so we can see the path forward.
And you might be surprised where she places him, right here at stage +1. And this is so important, because despite the complaints, he's not on the negative side of the spectrum at all. He's actually already on the side of growth.
So, what is stage +1? It's called emerging awareness. And doesn't that just perfectly describe Mr. James? Yeah, his understanding is pretty limited, but that core desire he has to be fair, it shows he's open to learning, even if he doesn't quite know it yet.
Okay, but this is all still a little bit abstract, right? So to make it really click for him, the psychologist switches from the framework to a really powerful metaphor that it hits home. She starts by reframing a word that can make people shut down immediately: privilege. She explains, look, this isn't an accusation. It's not about blame. It's simply about the things your life circumstances have never forced you to notice. She calls it the cave of privilege. And the idea is pretty simple. When we're comfortable inside our own cave with our own experiences, we honestly just can't see who might have been left outside in the dark. Our good intentions don't really matter if our vision is blocked. And boom, that's the breakthrough. That is the moment Mr. James stops thinking about his own hurt feelings and starts to really consider the impact on his students. He starts to wonder if his version of sameness was accidentally making parts of them feel invisible.
Now, of course, one conversation isn't a magic wand. This isn't some overnight fix. What it is, though, is the start of a journey. It's that first crucial step away from "it's not my fault" and towards "what can I learn?"
And you can literally see his internal mindset shift right here. He goes from that knee-jerk defensiveness of "I'm not the problem" to a moment of real questioning. Wait, did I dismiss him too quickly? All the way to that deep reflection, maybe I didn't make enough space. That right there, that is what growth looks like.
So what's the big takeaway for all of us? It's that the goal isn't to be perfect overnight. Real fairness means we have to actively listen and be willing to adapt. And yeah, it's going to involve some discomfort, and it definitely takes courage. But it all starts with just being willing to look in the mirror. And in the end, this story isn't really just about Mr. James, is it? The 6 stages framework is kind of like a mirror for all of us, no matter what we do. It gives us a language and a map to understand ourselves. So it leaves us with a pretty important question to think about. Where are you right now
in your own inclusion journey.